Yes, it is Thankful Thursday, baby. Get on in here for the Empowered Morning Show. Get ready to plug in so that you can make sure your day is empowered all day. You know how we talked about plugging into the wall, and now once you charged up, you good to go? Let this be your charge. Let this be your power source. That's what I'm talking about.
Let this be your
Be
bullet,
the
your
plug,
block.
baby. Get you the we look. This is the block for you.
Yes, that's
For
just
the
the
day.
block. Then you still need the cord,
You
and
still
then you
need the
still need
cord
the
to
equipment.
connect.
Like,
Because Natasha said, baby, you gotta be connected, not attached. We need you connected this morning. So good morning, Miss Phyllis. Good morning, Miss Patricia. Good morning, Cynthia Lewis. We are so glad to see you all. Listen, we got some information for you today, and it's some good information. And y'all know Natasha does not play. We're not already established that she the throat puncher yesterday. She said it before, but yesterday we really got into how she just
what's the sound, Angela? Do the throat.
let me go and get it for you, girl. This is Natasha, baby. Is that it?
So we give it all over to you, Natasha. Take over. Do your thing.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. All right. Well,
yesterday that power punch, baby. Get
it. And she's leaning on up. So the lean up means the more she scoot up, that means
the more you know, y'all better pay attention to body language. Listen, that's when she get ready to really get. When she lean in, she be like,
Don't give away the secrets. Well, we talked yesterday a lot about codependency, and I gave you guys just a brief introduction because, like Angela said, we're created to be connected, right? That's where we thrive, is in connection. That's where people find their joy and they're happy. And that's why we love to fellowship together, because of connection. But for those of us that struggle with codependency, it's a result of us attaching. Well, we find ourselves attaching to things because of codependency, and codependency is rooted in trauma. So as I mentioned yesterday, you can't be codependent by yourself, right? It's a mutual dependency. That means you are finding yourself attaching to people in life as a way to self-soothe something deeper that's going on with you. And a lot of people don't even recognize that they're codependent, because what's happened over time is that they have normalized a lot of their behaviors, and often chalk it up to, well, I'm just a giving person, right? I'm just a nurturer. I am just a mom. This is what God said that I'm supposed to do. And when I bring God into the conversation, yes, God does tell us to serve, but God doesn't tell us to serve to a point that we ignore our worth, we ignore our value, we ignore our mental health. And as you ladies know, mental health means a lot to me. I'm very passionate about mental health. It is not something that I take lightly. So when people are struggling with mental health, and when you look at mental health on a spectrum from the most mild case of depression and anxiety, where people are still functioning in life but battling depression and anxiety, to someone who has it acute because it's crippling them, it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on. At the end of the day, those are indicators that mentally and emotionally you are not well, right? And so that should be a red flag and a marker that it's time for you to take better care of you, not let me go take care of somebody else. And so what a lot of people aren't realizing is that when you're constantly stepping outside of yourself like that, it's because you're trying to self-soothe. So instead of reaching outward, we should be looking inward to find out what is that thing that we're trying to self-soothe. You know, I had a friend talk to me last night and said, you know, you still struggle with patience. And initially when they said it to me, it hit a little hard. So I'm not the only one that gives out a throat punch. They come to me as well, right? But it's that truth we need to hear. And so I had been pondering it and did some reflection on it. And although I've grown in patience, some of my lack of patience still comes from me still, because I'm a recovering codependent. And so there's still some of those residuals that if I don't hustle, if I don't grind, if I don't do this, if I don't do that, then I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm not going to get what I need, I should say. Right. So even after all these years of being in recovering codependent, there's still residuals of that that's showing up in my behaviors. And it's something that I need to be mindful of, because if I don't stay on top of it, if I don't continue to work, and I'm going to use my patience as an example, that's going to worsen over time, where I'm going to continue to want certain outcomes. I'm not going to manage my expectations. I'm going to continue to try to control people, places, and things. And I'm going to continuously and gradually become more impatient. Right. And then people are going to look at me and be like, well, why is she, this whole, she's so spiritual, but yet she doesn't have patience. It's because I didn't take the time to reflect and realize that my lack of patience is rooted in something from my past. Right. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there.
To set the foundation, because people do see each other, you see people spiral out and you're wondering like,
what happened?
What's going on? Because it wasn't that serious to you. You're thinking like, this is why would you blow up, or why would you, just nut up and go crazy and act out of character? And again, like you say, it's trying to control and maintain and manage the image and the facade and the things that you want to appear a certain way, but internally you're still dealing with some things. And the inside person, look, the devil, whether you say it's the devil or whoever
you want to call it.
because you're gonna blame somebody more so than you're gonna say, what, I need to take accountability and responsibility for what's going on. Normally most people are not saying that. You're saying the devil made me do it, or somebody
because of them
to this point. Yes.
Yep.
I mean, and the way you raise is such a good excuse. That's your hold on.
Your go-to.
I wasn't raised like that. I didn't, it's that constantly reassuring that mind that we still got to stay. No, keep it as when you was 10, keep that right there at the top of your mind.
Well, I think that's where we normalize things, right? If we keep going back to the past and using the past as sort of a crutch and a way to say, well, this is why I'm the way that I am, right? It may have shaped and influenced you, but you don't have to stay that way, right? Behavior, we mentioned yesterday, behaviors are learned. And so anything that's learned can be unlearned, right? So if I learned lack of patience because of the environment that I'm in, that doesn't mean that I'm just going to remain an impatient person. Right. It's kind of like when people say once a cheater, always a cheater. I'm not a fan of the phrase.
Me either.
Right. They will cheat because they haven't worked on their rooted wounds. But once they go to therapy and they work on those rooted wounds, they're not going to come back out the same person. Right. So to generalize that, or to look at behavior and think, well, and you hear people say, well, that's just the way I am. No, that's just the way you've been operating. Right? But that's not who you are. That's not your true character.
No.
That is definitely not who God created you to be. So you normalizing that and making excuses for that is what keeps us sick, right? It's what keeps us in a place that is emotionally and mentally unstable. And what's rooted in that, and I'll use my patience, for example. While I may have patience in certain areas of my life, there's just other areas of my life that I don't have patience. And what that is showing me, that there's areas of my life that is still wounded, that needs emotional regulation. that I need to work on. And so this for me today was just an example to say to people, yeah, I come on here and I give you guys education and I provide a lot of insights to things. But when I tell you that I can relate to what you're going through, I'm human just like everybody else. I don't come on here to propose that I'm perfect and that I have all the answers and that my life is just, a bed of roses. I have my days too when I'm struggling with things and, someone holds up a mirror for me and I don't sit there and get in an argument or be like, oh, well, that's not true. Or, well, I've changed. No, it's like, I hear you. I receive you. And now I'm going to take that and I'm going to look into that a little bit further. Now that showed me last night in talking to my friend, like I have some work to do. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't change all the work that I've done on myself and the progress that I've made. It's just saying that I love myself enough and I love the people in my life enough to do things differently.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so good, Natasha, because I feel like for so many people, when somebody does tell you something, we take it as criticism and we take it as a dart being thrown, or they're after me, or
yes, or now they don't. All of a sudden, they don't like me.
Right, exactly. Or what did I do to you? We start getting on a defensive when you're not even in the game of trying to. It's not an offense or defense in that situation. It is somebody telling you something, and now you need to sit back calmly and think, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let me find out what's going on with me that makes me that way.
Yes.
Versus feeling like you're being attacked, because everybody's not attacking you. Everybody's not coming for you to tear you down and break you down. That's not what it is. But Natasha, I wanted to kind of go back a little bit, because for some people, say you experience something traumatic at the age of 6. And say your environment has been dysfunctional and toxic that entire time, and you grow up and you become an adult. But that is really kind of all however you decided to cope with that, whatever happened, and that's your coping mechanism, and that's how you move through life. As an adult, when somebody says you don't have to stay in this way, you don't have to have the wall built up, you don't have to be hard or cynical or angry or whatever it is that you display all the time, and somebody says, well, that's just how I am. How can somebody who thinks that way or operates that way or believes that to be true what questions can you ask yourself, or what do you need to do to kind of say, you know what, maybe this is not how I'm supposed to be?
That last question that last question you ask, I think, is where it begins. So what you just explained is someone now they stay in survival mode. You have a trauma rooted, you're in survival mode. So right now, currently in your life, if you have not healed those parts of you, you are still in survival mode. So hearing someone, it's so interesting when having this conversation, because part of my conversation last night, my next thing that I have to work on is vulnerability, right? The last person I tried to be vulnerable with tried to kill me, right? The vulnerability for me is hard. It is uncomfortable. And I'm just like, almost like not while my intellectual brain goes, the next person line isn't going to kill me because this individual was sick. But it's like, that person used to take everything that I said and use it against me, all the things, right?
Turn it around.
So when the person said to me yesterday, it's okay to be vulnerable, I can't tell you every which way my body cringed. My body was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But it's like, right?
Right.
But I'm also a believer that when God, especially when we pray and we seek for healing and we seek for transformation and we're seeking for God's guidance and direction, God puts people in your life for a reason. I don't have a very big circle. I have always prayed for friends who are just like me in terms of holding me accountable, being willing to be honest and truthful with me, and being truth tellers, and not being afraid to tell me the truth. If I have friends that are going to tap dance around me and sugarcoat for me, we're not friends.
Yeah.
Right? Because I want to be able to grow in my circle. If I'm going to pour into you, I would like for you to pour into me. This is I tell my friends all the time. This isn't the one-way street, right? Yeah. So if you want me to pour into you, I need you to pour into me. And sometimes pouring into me may not always sound good or necessarily feel good.
That part. It doesn't
immediately.
always sound good. It doesn't always feel good.
Right, because you're not used to it, right?
Yeah.
The whole sounding and feeling is because you're not used to
It's
it.
not warm liquid. It's not warm liquid being poured into you, and you're just like, oh, well, thank you so much for
She
giving
just
me
loves
that.
me
I really
so
appreciate it.
much.
Yeah, it's just like it's not rubbing the baby on the back and being like, yeah, we're gonna
Correct,
get
because
through
you're
this
nervous.
together.
Because
Your
your
nervous system is going crazy. Like,
correct. Your nervous system has been unsettled and unrattled for a really long time. And so now somebody's coming in to give you something that's really good for you, but your nervous system isn't used to it. So at first, it's almost seemingly like your nervous system is rejecting it, right? So Angela, when you asked a question, for me, it's if it's somebody that I value that is coming to me to tell me like, hey, you know, I see this, or hey, what's going on? I'm concerned about this, or just having this conversation, I'm going to listen. If it's somebody who doesn't know me, I might be less inclined to be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I maybe go on that defensive. But to have someone that I value, and this person that I was speaking to last night, I value dearly. So to hear them say that, and they and in the conversation, they weren't like, well, I need to tell you this about yourself. They didn't come off
that's
like,
the part. It's the deliverance every single time. If your deliverance is already, well, I need to talk to you. I need to set up a meeting. My nervous system says, "Ooh,
you set me correct."
It's the warning. The lights have already started flashing. Like, wait,
wait.
warning.
I went from this, and you say, I need to talk to you. Like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah, could you put a disclaimer in there for me?
The fear, fight, or flight immediately comes to the forefront because you're already looking at how can I escape because you feel attacked.
Well, and I think it's important for people to realize that the reason why that's happening is because they are in survival mode. That is a marker when people are getting offended and defensive. It's because of their nervous system is not stabilized and there's unresolved wounds that are there. So that should be a marker right off the bat. And in having this conversation, you know, a lot of people say, well, how am I supposed to know someone that they have unresolved wounds? You don't have to know. Just be mindful of
just listen.
People and be willing to listen.
Watch. Correct. It will show you.
Again,
correct.
You can easily, I mean, to be honest, if you're in a person who's aware of things, you can tell when the atmosphere shifts, when their mood changes, when they're not behaving like they typically do.
Yeah.
You can tell, you know, if somebody's voice is tight. You can tell when it sounds like if I tap you, you're getting ready to cry. You can tell, you know how somebody, or you know how people when you're this is not, of course, everybody, but for some people when they're grieving, those emotions are right there at the surface.
Oh, you can see where it's like rising from the chest to the throat into the face.
Yes, exactly. So you know that some people, when they are in that type of emotional grip, they don't want to be touched because they feel like if you touch me or hug me, everything that's inside of me is getting ready to come up. I'm going to start crying uncontrollably. I don't know if I can stop. So they don't want to be touched because they know that that's going to be the trigger that's going to release it all. So you can pay attention to different people in different circumstances. You can be riding with somebody and say the police come, you know, you hear the sirens and whatever, and you see an accident up and they start kind of like they get ready to hyperventilate or whatever because maybe they were in a bad crash before or somebody that they love was like that. And so all of these stimulating sounds and noises and things and what they see visually has them tense and has them like, oh my God.
Nervous system.
Yeah. And because I'm one that if a police gets close to me, blue lights come, I will tighten up. And it's because of some things that happened in my past that automatically it makes you think, oh my gosh, they're getting ready to come get you. They're going to do something, you know, like it's not, they're here to help you.
Exactly.
Listen,
you know,
I was just going to say, I have this thing that when people say I need to talk to you, I immediately have this instant fear because when my mother or somebody in the past needed to talk to me, it was always bad news. So I'm just this automatic assumption that when someone needs to talk to me, it's not.
I'm like that with my girls. Like, I know I'm not a phone person, honestly. But you know, like if they call me, I'm automatically thinking, what's wrong? What's going on?
My girls
my
just call. They don't call. They text.
Right, my oldest daughter, she's been in an accident before, and so in my head, when she calls me, I'm automatically thinking, "What's wrong? You okay? What happened?"
Yeah.
But, oh, okay.
We already have been like,
Mom, and I'm thinking, "What's that mom for?" Well, look, I'm
yeah.
always
And
like,
then it's
I'm on my way. Look, I'm almost, it's almost like I'm gonna get my purse, and I'm like, "Baby, I'm on my way. What you need?"
you
And she's like,
already
I was just calling to say hi.
Yes, she's like, I just
or what
called.
about when you haven't heard from somebody in a long time?
You think
Why can't
somebody
we
dead,
take it
baby?
as good news? Like, oh, they
No,
just calling to check on me. Like, wait a minute, she don't never call me. Hold on.
thank you.
Let me stop the world. And they was just like, hey,
They
and you're
just
like,
said,
no,
me
what's
too,
going
yeah.
on?
Yes. Or girl, God forbid you get a phone call at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever. You already know, girl. The first thing you think is like, girl, who died?
Yes. I
Who
can
died?
call my older brother right now, and his first response is, what's going on? Well, that's because normally it is. Normally I am calling.
You have set him up
You've
for
conditioned
that.
him. You've conditioned him that way.
I was trying to use that example, but then it was
No.
like,
I give it that. Look, block.
but I was like, bring it back
that.
down, because normally when you do call him,
Look, I wish you could get on here and be like, man, when you call me, it's always something. Stop that.
it was like, you have a flat tire, you did something.
Yeah, that's not a trauma. That's not a trauma response, Sparkle. That's just you calling your brother to come and help you out.
That's why I had to stop it. But that's what you love, that when you're learning about yourself, and even when you try to call it something else, that awareness of yourself
it
is
pulled
like,
you on back. Then it was like, come on back, because you know better.
So I love that this awareness of who I am is like the top frame. So before you start trying to go crazy and get to it says stop. Let's digress, grace, and let's talk about this. It's like, and it's the own self.
It comes back to the whole emotional thing, and we've been talking about this for weeks now, about being in touch, being in tune with yourself emotionally. We're out here behaving a particular way, but we're not recognizing that our emotional selves is driving the behavior. So when you talk about that self-awareness, it's about me being aware of, how am I feeling today? How am I feeling in this moment? How is it that when this thing happens, how do I feel? Why do I want to know that? Because dependent upon how I feel and how that feeling is affecting me is then going to determine how I behave. Right? So everybody's running from emotions, but again, your emotions drive the way you function in life. And so if there's parts of you don't like the way that you function, or you don't like the way that you do something, or you hear somebody point out a behavior in you, it's not to get defensive. It's about to check yourself and go, okay. And for those of you that love God and believe in God and walk with God, you got to ask yourself, is this how God wants you to behave? Right? The minute my friend told me that last time, my first thing was, okay, God, you always tell me to let go and let God, and to surrender and to have faith and to have trust. That means if I'm being impatient, that means I'm not trusting you. And I went through this whole laundry list of all the things I'm not doing for God. And I was like, okay, well, clearly you have some work to do. Right?
When you say okay to yourself, that's when you tell self,
yes,
okay,
that I've got, we got work to do. But Natasha, let me ask you this, because the reality is, when you talk about these emotions and how these emotions are played out and how you interact with other people, and you mentioned yesterday we're going to hit 14 core characteristics, and one of them, let's tap into, because I feel like most people have probably at some time in their lives experienced people pleasing, but let's talk about it being excessive, because yes, it's times where you do want to be a people pleaser. You do, what I'm saying, and that may not necessarily always be bad, that you want to make sure other people are good or whatever, but it does become a problem when it's excessive. Can you
like, I do want to have my girlfriends over for lunch. I do want to have that. But when all I need to do is keep on. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's not people pleasing.
That's not. That's not. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, but when you need to continue. Y'all come up. Let me serve you. Like you automatically trying to give, right?
Yeah, I want to encourage the audience to separate serving and people pleasing.
Okay.
Two completely different things. When you serve, you're serving from a genuine place, an authentic place. When you people please, it is an ulterior motive. Right? I want them to separate that. I hear what you're saying, Sparkle, because I know your healing journey and I know what you mean by that, but I'm not sure the rest of the audience, for those who are not healed yet, because they're going to go out there and say, but I am serving God. No, you're not. If you are not serving from a genuine and authentic place. So serving from a genuine place would be, yeah, you served your girlfriends today. You know, you hosted for your friends. That's your servitude. I hosted a nice dinner. And then they're like, hey, you think you could do that next month? And your honesty in that would be, you know what? I have something, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to. The people pleaser in you would then be like this. You know what? I have something planned. Yeah, I think I could probably move that. Yeah, I might be busy, but I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Let me work on that schedule and I'll set something up right away.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Now let's caveat that, Natashah. So you do that, but you do that because you're thinking, if I don't do it, then they're going to be mad at me, or they're going to probably
how they going to feel about me.
You immediately do it because you feel like, if I don't do this, and I'm not going to be part of the friend circle, and I got to be part of the friend circle. So that's why I'm rearranging everything in my life to make sure that y'all are happy.
And if that dialogue that you just gave is happening in the background, A, you don't know yourself. B, you're not able to be authentic. Right? And that's where that people pleasing come in. And again, you know, I like when Cynthia said it's more of a power punch. It's not a throat punch. I ain't punching nobody in the throat, but I want the punch to be powerful enough for you to recognize that what you're doing and calling it being a servant or servitude isn't. It's a mask, right? Like when people say, well, I'm doing this and this is what God wants me to do. Please stop. I've been saying it all week. Stop saying on God when it's not on God, right? It's about you not knowing who you are. We get lost in relationships because we don't know who we are going into the relationship in the first place, right? And then we break up from that relationship, and instead of we take time to discover and to learn about our identity and who we really are in God, we bounce into the next relationship. So you keep bouncing and bouncing from relationship to relationship, or always being with someone because you're fearful of being alone, and you never really get to discover who you are. Sparkle and I were talking about this probably about a month, 2 months ago, and I think one of the biggest problems she and I have is we are too in love with being by ourselves now, right? We actually enjoy that, but there was once upon a time, she and I agree, we felt like we could have somebody in our lives.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's really, really important to take that time away from others and detach from other people. And again, you can still have connections, but you've got to learn on how to be with yourself. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you like, and you need to know what you don't like.
So, Natashah, would that characteristic then be more of a fear of abandonment? So you stay in places because you can't be by yourself, because you know what I'm saying? You need to have that.
You're fearful of losing. You're fearful of being alone.
Another person gonna walk out of my life.
Yep.
Everybody just gets up and just leaves me. No matter what I do, I can't do enough.
And so that dialogue is rooted in your trauma of the past. You continue to have that narrative in your mind. And so now you're holding on. So that's where that attachment, right? That's where that attachment comes in. I'm going to hold on to this relationship for dear life. My intellectual mind, as I get older, tells me this isn't healthy for me. My emotional mind is telling me fear. They're going to leave. They're going to abandon me. I'm going to be alone. And you keep buying into that narrative. You're going to attach yourself to people, places, and things and be devastated when they walk away from you. Right? So
devastated.
And as a result of that, the second characteristic we're going to talk about is poor boundaries or no boundaries. right? So now you're going to stay in that relationship and you're going to let them do what they want, how they want, whenever they want. And you're not really going to say nothing about it or do anything about it because you're still rooted in the fear that if I speak up, or if I tell them that I don't like this, that, or the other, again, I'm fearful they're going to abandon me. Right. And then I go back up to the first one and I'm going to just go ahead and keep people pleasing them, because if I keep people pleasing them, it'll make me feel better and I don't have to live in that fear. And then I want to call that servitude. I hate to break it to everybody. That is not being God's humble servant.
Let me sip on my.
Sorry. Are you going to play that background soundtrack or whatever you had there?
Yeah, because it's true. Because people become an adult of the same characteristics. That's now you call it. That's just who I am. I serve. I'm a servant. I'm a servant for the Lord. I serve. I serve. I serve. I give. I give. I do. I do. I work. I work. I grind. I grind.
And you don't need to. That's not what God's calling you to do, right? But you have to realize that you're doing that. That's a high performer, overachiever, right? Perfectionist. And how many of us have heard that I want to go before the Lord, but I want to get it right. Like I need to do it right.
Wait a minute. Miss Doris, this is good, Miss Doris. So that is not being, that is being bound.
Being bound.
Correct.
Bound of that. It's stuff that we do and we call it normalized. We have normalized it a part of our life.
But you know what the reality is, I guess if you go back and think about it, if you're running around doing things for someone because you either one feel like you're going to lose them if you don't, if it's not something you would have done any other time, if it's not something that you do genuinely because that's just who you are, if you're doing it because you feel like, oh, I got to do this because I'm scared, if I don't do it, somebody else will. You know how they tell you, well, if you don't give it up, somebody else will. So you got to do it, whatever the it is for you. If you're operated out of, I've got to get this done. And let's just say, even at your job, if you say, you know what, this is not even my job description, but I don't want them to fire me. So I got to make sure that I run around and do all this. And so now you're doing 15 different tasks that really only 3 of them are really what you're supposed to be doing. But you want to be so valuable to the company that you continue to stress yourself out, overwhelm yourself, do extra work and all these things that really don't have anything to do with your job description, but you do it because you're trying to prevent getting fired or being replaced or whatever.
So it's rooted in fear, and I want everybody who's listening to fill in the blank. It could be fear of losing, fear of abandonment, fear of not being liked, fear of not being perfect, so fill in your blank. It's really at the end of the day just rooted in fear. I don't want anybody walking away from here saying, well, I'm not fearful about losing anything. No, but you might be fearful that someone might not like you. You might be fearful that they're going to choose somebody else over you. You might be fearful that you're not understood. You might be fearful that you're not chosen.
Yeah.
So it's just rooted in fear at the end of the day. And again, coming back to the beginning of this broadcast, emotions drive the way we behave. Right? So when you are seeking God and in time with God, it's not about just going to God and praying and saying, I need this and I need that, and I pray for this and I pray for him and I pray for her, and that's all great and dandy. What are you feeling?
Yeah.
What emotions are you carrying? What emotional weight are you holding on to? And take that to God, because God will then reveal to you how that emotion is shaping the way you're behaving day to day. Right?
Right.
And then he will put people in your life, or he will reveal to you how to change that behavior if you're willing to learn.
Yeah, that's that big.
And you know what, Natashah, I'm glad we're kind of breaking it down, because last night I had the conversation, I'm doing the Becoming Her series, for the co-authors of the book. And so I talked to LaToya last night, and she was saying that she had 2 strokes back to back. And they told her, it was stress related. And she was thinking like, I'm not stressed. I mean, I feel good. I don't feel pressure. And I think for a lot of people, we don't realize that you have these feelings because it's been so constant forever. But she mentioned that, I was running around here overworked. I was answering all the phone calls. I was doing everything for everybody, always on go, never really, paying attention to myself. And I feel like for a lot of people, we've got to get to the understanding where you say, oh, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not scared of being lived. You leave by if whatever. But we tunnel vision it to the one thing that we feel like this is what that means, but not understanding that you're operating in it in other areas of your life.
Well, and you're responding from the conscious part of your mind. You have 3 levels of consciousness. You got conscious mind, unconscious, subconscious, and unconscious. 3 levels to your consciousness. So when someone speaks like that, they're just like, well, I'm not thinking about it. Okay, but your body does. Just like when Sparkle was saying just now, somebody says something and her body just kind of, when she sees the cops and her body sort of, reacts, the body keeps score. When you hold onto stuff, it's not flying out the window.
Yeah.
Right? You're not taking it and actually putting it in a physical closet. It remains inside the closet within you. It remains on a shelf in you. That all it takes is one person to elbow you or to knock you down.
It's falling all over.
And it's fallen off the shelf and it's going to start. And that's, something that came up to me this morning in my reading and in my own thought process is how we're bleeding on each other. How
over and over.
Right? And you don't think about that. Your trauma is a wound that is bleeding into the life of someone else. And the reason why I say it that way, I think of, again, you guys know that I work in the field of addiction and families impacted by addiction, and their loved one's illness is bleeding over. And instead of they get out of the way and call for help, families are right there in the middle of it and drowning in that bleeding. They're drowning in their blood. And the answer, their response is, well, that's my child, Natashah. I can't leave them homeless. Okay, but did you ask your child to go take drugs? Did you ask your child to get into trouble?
That's a good one. Did you ask them?
I always say when they were partying, they didn't invite you.
Yeah.
When they were getting into trouble, you didn't get an invitation. Why is it your responsibility to bail them out? And if you say to me, because I'm a parent or because I love them, love has nothing to do with it. I always say, we love the people that we love in our lives. Put that here. But to hold somebody accountable, be able to allow someone the opportunity to learn from their mistakes or their, I like to say, missed opportunities, that has nothing to do with love. I should love you enough to allow you to learn. Because if I keep going into people please, if I keep going into rescue, if I have no boundaries with you, then what am I teaching you?
Yeah. That is so deep.
And we take on a lot of responsibility for other people. You know what I'm saying? Out of the name of love, and you want to be responsible. But then on the flip side of that, people manipulate you to be responsible for a lot.
Because they know, like,
they put it out there.
But you're supposed to love me. You're supposed to, like, don't you love me? It's almost like when somebody's asking you to do something and like, how much do you love me? Do you love me enough to, like, because then okay, so they ain't about love in it. So what you want?
Well, I'll hear families.
Is if you don't do it, doesn't mean that you don't love them. And I think people have gotten things so twisted.
Correct.
We have watered down the word love so much that it is like people use love as a weapon and a tool to get at you.
It's the same thing when you talk about serving. Right? We're using serving in a way to shield ourselves and say, oh, look at me, I'm doing a great thing. But are you? Because if you're bleeding out onto other people who don't need that because they have their own bleeding going on. Right? So at the end of the day, we have to come back and realize that we have things in our past that have shaped us, that have influenced us, that has impacted us. And we really need to take a self-evaluation and ask ourselves, how is this affecting me? And how is this affecting the people around me? Because that emotional manipulation, I've heard a lot of families say, well, if you love me, you'd stop drinking. Well, first of all, if you understand the disease of addiction, it don't
It's
work.
not that, yeah. It's
It has
not
nothing
like
to
that.
do with that they don't love you. As a matter of fact, it has everything to do with the fact that they don't love themselves.
Yes.
It's not about you. It's about them.
Yes. That's even in relationship. Well, if he loved me, he would
He would have
change.
stayed.
He would, if he really loves me, then he would do this and he would do that. You're talking about somebody that don't even love themselves. That, like,
They don't even know how to love and or receive love because of their past wounds.
yes.
Unrealistic
And
expectations.
that is so, but you know what? But that is such a commonality with people, that you equate a person's bad behavior with the fact that they don't love you. You don't take into consideration all the other things they've done, all the other times they've been with you,
Every time they came
that
through.
one thing erases everything else, because you don't love me if you did this. You don't care about me if you did that. And the reality is, it goes back to Natashah when you started off and you said we self-soothe, because you're trying to have somebody soothe an issue that really is for you to soothe.
It's not
It
their
doesn't have anything to
responsibility.
do with, you know what I'm saying? Because you're mad that they don't come and get you when you're crying, but at the end of the day, you've been fed, your pampers, your behind is not wet.
And
You're in
guess
a
what?
safe
You will be
environment.
okay. Cry
You know how
yourself
many
to sleep.
wives in marriage and family counseling get mad at me when I point this out, because they come into these relationships and they're demanding their husbands to fill that void for them. And I'm like, that's your father wound or your mother wound. That does not belong to your partner. That is not your partner's
That's not
responsibility.
inside that hula hoop, Natasha.
No,
That's not inside that hula
Natasha,
hoop.
I can clearly, I understand why I'm divorced. Like, I understand. Like, poor thing, I would have divorced me too. Like, I totally understand it now,
Yeah.
because I came into something wanting somebody to fulfill all these voids.
For you.
And
Yeah.
his only assignment was to be my husband. He was
come on
supposed to
now.
come in and be my husband. But now you have turned one assignment into, now he has to do 20 assignments.
And now you're mad. And now you
now my head.
Yeah.
Now I'm
my
mad
neck,
because this is
much.
not how marriage is supposed to be. This is not what the book said.
Mhm.
Because
Baby,
people-
go check you.
People cannot complete you. And if you
Correct.
feel
You
like he
cannot.
completes me, then you're automatically in the relationship for the wrong reason. Because it's nobody's job to complete you.
That part,
You are a
man.
whole individual, and you have to come to someone as a whole individual. And if somebody
Well-
says, "Oh my God, he completes me,"
You need to work on being a whole individual,
Yes.
right? Because
And
if
it
you come
takes
to-
work.
yeah, if you
I
come
know
from a
that
wounded,
man looks at me now, it's like, where was she? What?
I think that's true for all of us that are divorced.
You know, like,
Right.
and it can go on both sides. We and then, you know, and then somebody gets with somebody. Then when I get with my future husband, he's gonna immediately be like, wow, now she does this differently. You know how, like, you like,
Right.
oh,
Like, well, when you
I
was with
never
me, you
had a
weren't
problem
doing
with
it.
him hitting me. He ain't never hit me. You know, the other relationship, like, he's a beater.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I never had a problem with him beating me. In that time, he might have sought out help for that trauma.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
Or
it comes
you
down
have to have a boundary set, and he knew that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because the reality is, people think that just because somebody treated you a certain way, number one, you allow whatever happens to you, because you can stop it or you can move on. If they're not treating you, if they're disrespectful to you, you don't have to stay there. Somebody else may have said, "Oh my God, he disrespected me. He called me out my name." And if you're the person that says, "What you're not going to do is call me out my name. You're not going to put your
Exactly.
hand on me," because I'll walk away.
Yep.
And then it clicks in their brain and say, "Okay, well, she's not going to do what
Mm-mm.
the other one did." So, and some people, let's keep it real. Some people need to be checked in order for them, like Natashah said, the person told her, "You having a problem with patience." If nobody ever told Natashah that, maybe she's not going to stop to say that I got a problem with patience.
Listen,
I need you to
I thought that
I'm
I've grown
doing
so.
good.
I thought I've grown so much in patience in my life, but apparently this particular area in my life, I have some work to do.
Right. But Natasha said, baby, listen, again, I now one thing I can do, I got patience. And they're telling you, really you don't.
No, you don't. And
Angela
I'm like,
is doing
okay.
all this talking, but she is a quick one to let you know, girl, you have not, like, yes, you're doing a lot better. But
Look,
There's still work.
proud
I
of you
think
for
that's the
where
thing, right?
you're
There's
at, but
always
we
work
got
to
to
be
keep
done.
going.
There's
Yes.
always work to be done.
There's
We have
always
an
work to be done.
always.
Always.
It-
Let me catch X Marie. I had it up and I
yes,
want to read
that's
it.
deep.
Drinking and drugs are spirits. Most people
Amen.
don't know that. They assume it's hereditary or something people do. The devil is conniving and he works through our spirit and minds. Only that person can make that change with God's help.
Amen. And that's not just in drinking. That's in all them different behaviors.
And yes, you got to stop it immediately because if you let them get away with it, they will continue.
They
let's
will.
And that's with
let's
any, that's with children.
That's with
You let a
anything.
child throw a temper tantrum at the store. You can't go
let's
back 2 months later and say, don't you get in that store and throw a temper tantrum because they're like, well, you just let me get one and you bought them chips, you bought that candy, and you got that drink. And if I need to do it again, I'm gonna do it again. I don't care what you say, because I know you're gonna do it. Because you don't want me to
let's
embarrass you.
let's
I used to
punctuate.
work for special needs, and we had this one young lady that would, when you take her out, she would have like she gonna act a nut up on you. Well, one day she acted nut up on me at Kroger's in Kroger parking lot, and I left her sitting right there acting a nut in that Kroger parking lot. So if you gonna do all that screaming and beating, stay right there. We gonna go, and the rest of us got in the van, and I came back and said, you have a choice. Do you want to get up and go with us, or do you want to stay here? Because we're ready to go. She got up, and then from that day, I never had a problem with her. And everybody was like, Tanika, how do you handle her? I don't. I just let her know this is my boundary and this is how it goes. And I'm not stopping my whole world because you decide this is how you want to act up.
So I just want to punctuate on what Esmarie just said because we don't want to get. Me personally, to speak for me. Those of us that are healers, those of us who are in a healing space, understand the urgency to set a boundary and to check people and all the things. We have to understand that there's a lot of people out there that lack self-worth and don't see value in themselves. And I want to touch on domestic violence for a second, which I know is a very sensitive subject. People always question, why does that woman stay? Why does that man? And I'm not going to be specific
That's
here.
good.
A high volume of men that are also being abused in relationships.
Absolutely.
Right? Why do they stay? It's not that they can't set a boundary, but their fear of abandonment, their fear of losing, their fear of being alone, sometimes the fear of what the person might do to them, it is all rooted in a lack of self-worth and self-value. I need people to understand that what we're talking about, everything that we talk about in the healing space and becoming her and healing for real, we're trying to instill hope that wherever you're at, life can and will get better. But it requires you to recognize that there are things in you that needs healing. And it starts with you having a connection to God and working with God on knowing your worth and your value. Because if you don't know your worth and your value, all of what we're talking about is almost going to seem out of reach. It is going to seem impossible. And that what we're asking you to do is almost like if we're talking about it in a foreign language. Right? So I do agree with Esmarie and Angela and Sparkle, but we have people out there that, when I tell you, are rooted in denial and have these masks and would immediately say, well, that isn't me. No, I need you to take your mask off for a second in your house. And I need you to really go look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I bleeding? How badly am I bleeding? And is this affecting other people in my life?
Yeah.
You really want to heal for real? That's what you need to do. Because I do agree with Esmarie. We need to immediately set a boundary. But here's the problem with setting a boundary immediately. If you don't know how to emotionally regulate yourself, when somebody challenges your boundary, you're not going to follow
there it goes
that
again.
boundary. Right? Because what do I always say about a boundary? A boundary has two parts. First of all, boundaries are not rules. They're not a set of guidelines for you to follow. They're not designed to control a particular outcome, right? And they're not for you to, it's not meant to be black or white. Do this or do that. It's not a reward and consequences type of thing. Boundaries is you recognizing what you need because you value yourself and you know your self-worth just enough to say, I've had enough of this.
Yes.
I'm not taking this anymore. I'm not tolerating this anymore. Now, here's the kicker. You first ask for what you need. And by, the person doesn't meet the need, it's okay, because I know my worth and my value enough to say, well, okay, I'm going to do something different so that I meet my own need. Right? But the only way that I'm going to follow through and hold you accountable to making sure that my boundary is respected, I have to know to respect me enough.
That part.
Separate myself, to detach myself from that person, place, or thing. Right? I had somebody the other day tell me that I'm going to play the game of I've played the game of boundaries, and boundaries don't work. And I said, first of all,
I played the game.
Yeah. I said, first of all, boundaries aren't a game. Second of all, the boundary belongs to you. It's what you need. So if right out the gate, you think that what you need is a game, you're going about this all wrong.
So wrong.
Right? So there's so much to learn here. And I know this is a heavy conversation, but this is what my program is about, is working with overachieving, high performance women, faith-based women that are going. I work with business owners who are hustling and grinding all the time. And
making it happen.
I don't have time for that because I got to make this and that happen. And where's you in all of this? You are the core of your business, right? God's the CEO of your company, and you're working for God and you're working with God, but you don't have time to take care of yourself. You don't have time to check in with yourself emotionally and regulate yourself and work on value to know that you don't need to be hustling and grinding all the time, right? That's where he says it's not a game and you can't play with your peace.
Yeah. And learning what seeking really looks like. Seeking is the same when you can't find the remote, you tear the whole house up to find the remote. You have to stop and really seek God, seek you, dig in deep, even those places where you don't want to dig, and put yourself around people that's not afraid of you. They ain't scared of you. They're not scared to tell you who you was talking to last night. She wasn't scared of you. She wasn't scared of you being mad. She wasn't scared of you getting upset. She was not scared of you because she understands, if I see it, I'm going to call you out on it.
Correct. And I said last night, if it wasn't for my sponsor being as direct as she was with me, I'm not sure that I would still be sober today. She was the only one in my life, because everybody else around me would always use the word "you're intimidating," and they would just say things just to get, you go along to get along, or however the phrase goes. She was the only person in my life that called me out on my stuff.
Yeah.
And again, while that didn't feel good in the beginning, I am so grateful for it, because she didn't, I don't want to use the word she didn't care. She did care. She cared enough to say, hey, what you're doing isn't working. Stop blaming everybody else and look at yourself. I remember there were so many times I would go to her, and the minute I sat down to talk to her, I was complaining about my mom. And she would sit there, she wouldn't say anything. She'd let me go for a good solid 10 minutes. And then when she's done, and it sticks with me today because I use it with my clients. She said to me, what's your role in it? Straight face. She heard everything I complained about. She didn't even touch it. She didn't even engage. She asked me nothing about my mother. She simply said, what was your role in it? And I used to get pissed off. And I'm like, what do you mean? What is my role in it? She did this, she did that, blah, 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 and I'm just running at the mouth. And she would just sit there quietly and go,
it's the quietness.
But you know what, Natashah, let me ask you this, because as you think about behaviors, and you said that, this particular person was the only one who called you out on your stuff, to tell you, and you were so grateful for that. For me, it sounds like for a lot of people, the way that you come across, the way that you speak of things, the way that you do things, you really want somebody to care. You really want somebody to, and that's why you do that. That's why you're abrasive. That's why that's why you say and do the things you say and do. It's not because I think that you're a B or whatever, it's not that I think that, that whatever the thing is that people come at you with. It's really you crying out for somebody to see me and say, you know what's wrong with you? Give me a hug. Let me hug you. Let me help you. You want somebody to make you stop feeling whatever that feeling is that makes you feel low self-worth, low self-esteem, the feeling of abandonment or fear of whatever's going to happen. Her stopping you and saying, you tell me, rah, you blowing up all over the place, but what about you? Makes you stop to deal with the feelings that you have so that when you are with somebody else, you don't feel the need for them to have to show you something because you already have self-worth. So I don't have to come to Sparkle and be like, girl, yeah, and this and the other, and blow up at her, because it's not about her. It's about me and my insecurity or my whatever I'm feeling. The therapist just had enough awareness to say that all that stuff you're saying about your mom and what she did or didn't do is because you feel like that because you wanted her to give you the love you feel like she wasn't giving, the understanding that you feel like she hadn't showed you, the I'm proud of you, done different things and accomplished things, and she feels we come across with our hugeness to people and they don't understand, but it takes somebody who can stop and say, break that down for me, because you're telling me about somebody else, but what do you have to do with that? What is it about you that you're needing that you're not getting?
And in any relationship, it takes two to tango. It's like, I know Sparkle and I've talked about this, like in even a divorce, everybody's quick to blame that one person in the relationship.
Correct.
It took the two of you to say yes and get married.
Yeah.
You really think
you don't know what else. You don't know how many times that person may say, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Well, because you didn't feel like you're not gonna tell me what you
what
whatever.
that
You're
right
not.
there. You
You
ain't
know
gonna
what I'm
tell
saying?
me.
You don't know. So the person who you feel like, girl, he once a cheater, always a cheater. Well, maybe I wouldn't have cheated had when I tell you what
People
I
hate to
need
hear that
and
part.
you don't do it. At some point, I'm like, okay, then I shut down, and now I'm gonna go ahead on and live my life because you obviously don't respect me, care, whatever it is to do to have the conversation with me, and I've been coming to you and asking for it. So when they move on, the outside looking in is like, girl, I knew that wasn't gonna work out to begin with, or girl, I don't see how you stayed as long as you did. Well, you don't know. Again, it takes two people to get into it. It takes two people to
get out of it.
mess it up. It takes two people to make it stay right. And it's a constant. It's not, year one is your responsibility. Year 5 through 10 is mine. Through 16 through 20 is somebody else. It has to be a daily choice that we matter. And so whatever needs to happen to ensure that we matter, we both have to work at that.
Yeah, you're both putting time and effort into it. And if I'm not mistaken, when we took our vows, we agreed to that. We didn't agree that one person was going to take on more responsibility.
Exactly.
But we get caught up in this world.
75% is your fault, and this 25% is yours.
Yes, these all these
making
percentages
100%.
that people came
it's not
up
a
with.
percentage. Yes, you have to take in 100% home.
If y'all don't sit in moment, tell me where God put a percentage anywhere in His word that He said, well, you come with this percentage and you come with this percent. Like, no, y'all, this is man. This is man speaking.
Man said something, we took it and ran with it, and it felt like it's anybody. Because you know how many times somebody may say, well, this, and they're like, that's not in the Bible, though. What? It's not in the Bible? I could have sworn it was in the Bible. No, go search it. It's not there. Because we have taken what man.
That's that seeking, really seeking. Like, before you start repeating stuff, just because your pastor hooped and hollered and said it, doesn't make it truth.
That part. Esmeralda says self-evaluation is a must. We can't blame everyone else. It starts with self-awareness.
It start with self. And I'm
All right,
telling
we're at
you,
the top of the hour, baby. Listen, I hope this has helped because y'all know, even though we are talking about heavy topics, but when you start talking about healing, that is a heavy topic. Period. Whatever, and we talk about spectrums. Wherever you are on your healing journey, on your self-awareness spectrum, on your, identifying self-worth and self-esteem and loving yourself more than you love the drama and the trauma that has positioned you to behave the way that you do.
yeah,
You
that
didn't get in it
chaos.
overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't wake up one morning and say, Shazam, I'm healed.
We just
That's not
made
going to happen.
it.
You can't do that. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take hearing things that you really don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Dealing with things that you really don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Natasha might have to throat punch you and punch you in your nose and hit you in your gut.
Power punch.
You're gonna have to do a power punch combo for some of us to get where we need to be. But it's a punch and love.
The punch out of love.
Yes.
Empowered Morning Show. Like,
the punch
love
you
y'all.
You
have a blessed day. It is Thursday, Friday Eve, and it's a holiday weekend. So I know you getting that extra day. So take some self time in those extra. Don't add, well, whoo, that'll be a good day for me to clean out the closets and do this and do this and do that.
A day for self-reflection, and a day for some self-care and some self-love.
Some self-love. And if it means that you just sit on the couch,
don't feel guilty for that. That's the thing. A lot of people feel guilty when they do self-love. Don't feel guilty for taking time out for you.
Yeah, because guess what? That closet has looked like that for the last how many months? Another month is not going to change it because it's been looking like that for the last. So y'all have a blessed day. We believe God. Do you believe God? We believe God. We believe God. We believe God. Have a blessing. We will see you back tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.